Good evening, all. Is there any moderator? Or we should... It's a great pleasure and honor and privilege to meet you all and initiate this dialogue process. A couple of days ago, we had a discussion with Dr. Abhay and our police officer. And the topic that has been assigned to me is simply on the topic of disability. Because they wanted to speak me on the topic, how these contours, the paradigm shift in the artificial intelligence has made a tremendous change or has impacted the people of persons with the disabilities. Because we should thank the organizers for doing this stupendous, wonderful task. A big hats and a big applause to all of you. I think we should give them a big clap. I think it's the need of the hour. It's very essential. We say that it is sine qua non. The legal paradox, we say that sine qua non means a thing cannot exist without this particular topic. So when we talk about the persons with the disabilities, almost 10 to 15% of the world population has got persons with disabilities. The staggering figure is that 750 million to 1 billion people are prone to disability, and they are having, we say that people with abilities, not disabilities in the real perspective. But this artificial intelligence, as you know, has challenged the legal dimension and landscape of every arena that you take, from healthcare to industry to finance to defense or automated drones or self-driving cars. So the impact, the profound magnitude of this artificial intelligence pervades almost all phenomena and all spheres. At this juncture, if you look at the implications of artificial intelligence, especially catering to the requirement of persons with the disabilities, as you know, the science and the technology, the most powerful tool, the modern definition of God. If you ask, who is God? One famous American philosopher has said, the modern definition of God is nothing but guns, oils, and drugs. So, if you take, I would say that more than this definition, guns, oils, and drugs, the omnipotent, omnipresent of the definition of the present modern definition of God is the artificial intelligence. Because by 2030, it is going to exceed several $1 billion, even it might enter into $1 trillion economy. So when such an event is taking place, this artificial intelligence, how far is it impacting persons with the disabilities? Disability experts, people like Amartya Sen and Martha Nussbaum, who is one of the famous philosophers in Harvard Law School from US, they have done a thematic and a thorough research, and they have finally concluded that persons with the disabilities should not be perceived from the spectrum of disability, but from the perspective of ability. They say that it is a capability approach model. Capability approach model in the sense, when you have a person with a disability, you need a support system, you need a catalyst, because they cannot act independently on their own, they have to depend upon somebody else. So they are dependent upon their family. So if you are not able to accommodate a person with a disability, it becomes a big humanitarian challenge, a big risk at the global level, because economically they are not contributing, they are depending upon somebody else, and the nation economy won't grow, and you are converting an asset into a liability. So the modern perspective, the jurisprudence laws is that you need to convert every liability into an asset. From that perspective, when Apple phone has been invented, or all the technological marvels that are taken place, of course, people with a learning disability, people with dyslexia or autism, they are able to learn in a much better through this interface of information and communication technology, number one. Number two, even people with visual impairment, people with a visual difficulty in seeing or perceiving, with a low vision or absolutely 100% disability, They are able to read the text to text messages through way of this communication and other development. With the advancement of this artificial intelligence, they are able to read through the text software. So they are able to hear. People with hearing disability, they are not able to hear. They are able to convert the technology by way of seeing, by way of interpretive technology tools. And people with mobility, physical disability like orthopedic disability, with the invention of robots, and for example, if they are not able to move from place to place, their assistive technologies, or you need assistance for the person with a disability to cope up or do their daily requirement. In that aspect, artificial intelligence can play a very major role. For example, to predict the climate change, or the movement of forecast of weather, rain, or the healthcare industry, even the human being, they are prone to commit a mistake. We commit a mistake. At the same time, this artificial intelligence has got a lot of advantages in the sense, technologically, medically, if you want to diagnose a person, the diagnostic tool, doctors, of course, they commit a mistake, but artificial intelligence do not commit a mistake. But nevertheless, like other sides of the same coin, artificial intelligence is nothing but, as you all understand, it is an algorithm that is embedded through a machine system. So everything is fed into the system. If you feed the data in the big data properly, you are able to get the right output. Now what happens in artificial intelligence, for example, in mass recruitment process or understanding the people perspective, as you know, disabled people, they rely a lot from the social security system because of the insurance policy or social security system. In order to have a support system from the government, we call it as a parents fascia doctrine. Parents fascia in the sense, for every person to promote, to have a promotional role in their life, the parents, they play a pivotal role in taking care of the requirement of their children. Similarly, for the people with the disabilities, we consider the state to be a welfare model state. So welfare model is in the sense to accommodate them on affirmative action that takes place. The government, in fact, should come forward. Agencies like UN, all these international bodies, we are discussing here to understand the ground realities as to how far these people are undergoing a major challenge or seismic effect in the implications and the interpretation of the law. The United Nations, it says all human beings are created equal. That is self-evident truth, which happens to be the gospel of Thomas Jefferson when he made the American Constitution. The same like UN, for example, United Nations, we the people of United Nations. Indian Constitution says we the people of India. So all the people, they come forward to have the realization of common goals of freedom of speech and expression, freedom of faith, freedom of religion, freedom of activity, freedom to trade, freedom to do business, intercultural faith. So all these things come forward in the broad spectrum of this United Nations Human Rights Declaration to ensure that all the people realize their goals. Now we talk about, because of the advancement of all these things, SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals, which UN has envisaged in order to combat the latest legal challenges. The world is under threat. So we are living in a very troubled times. In this complex or modernity of times, we need to relook at our philosophies, our theories. So when you look from the perspective of the prism of the disability people in particular, what happens in artificial intelligence, as I said, since the system is embedded, it's already fixed into the system. For example, in America, there has been a huge acquisitions that in terms of interview or in terms of recruitment, the system operates against the black people, Afro-Americans. So what happens when you make an application, lot of things do not satisfy the requirement. So it seems to be a perceived bias. We say that confirmed bias or unconscious or conscious bias. So this bias is attributed in the system. It is not the part of the machine which thinks like a human, but the fault exists on the part of the human in inserting certain aspects into the fixation of the machinery system. So when these things happen, it becomes a major bottleneck. So people with the disabilities, when they apply for welfare schemes or social security schemes, or when they make the job application, completely they are eroded, their belief is shaken, and their rights are not protected. The guarantees under the Constitution or the UN declaration that the promise that is made that is why which made Martin Luther King to say that our forefathers gave us the check. When we went and presented the check before the bank, it was unpromised. It came as the money did not get encashed. So as a result, there is a dishonor of check. So what happened? The UN Constitution, by its goals and the dimensions, aspirations, Franklin Donald Roosevelt and the Winston Churchill, when they made the UN Declaration, they had a great thought in mind. The future generation should not face from the scourge of war and hostility and indifference. So to make that theory come into reality, nowadays we have got a war, a lot of weapons of mass destruction. They say that weapons of mass destruction. In artificial intelligence, there is a system called weapons of mass destruction. So in mathematical formula, disabled people, as I say, we should always focus on the purpose of this dialogue. Purpose of this human rights body is to take care of the last man in the last row. So even one person, our Deputy High Commissioner from Nepal is there. So as a guardian of interpretation of a diplomacy, he knows about that particular aspect. Even when a person's right is infringed, when a person, when a war erupts in a particular place, international law says that immediately after extradition or asylum comes into the picture, international immigration people, refugees should be accommodated from everywhere, because every people in this world has got a right to live independently with full of happiness, peace in this global planet. So at that time, in terms of war only, we are not a national citizen, we become a global citizen. So artificial intelligence, what I am trying to emphasize is that we are living in a technology war. It's a techno war, a cyber war, which is taking place, which can shake, which can create a lot of skirmishes and lot of incidental acts, which can damage the whole fabric of human society. So to overcome this, to grapple with this scenario, artificial intelligence is a biggest tool, a major tool. This tool should be properly utilized, used only for the welfare of the benefit of humanity, especially for the persons with the disabilities. If you look into the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, UN Declaration of Human Rights, and certain international organization core principle, it has time again emphasized that disabled people rights should be protected. Especially in technology, we are clueless, because with respect to the other humanitarian intervention, humanitarian conflict, all the philosophers, all the judges, all the jurists across the globe, they have made a tremendous 360-degree lateral approach in trying to convince, persuade people with the disabilities rights should be protected, nourished, enriched. So at this juncture, do you have time, or should I, how much more time is there? Time is over. Okay, I'll conclude. Okay. I think because of the short and the paucity of time, I am not able to cover only a superficial bird's view. I have just given a glimpse of how the peoples with the person with disabilities right is taken away or infringed with the advent of the invention of the artificial intelligence. So with this impact, finally to conclude, I would say that the gospel of philosophy involved in artificial technology should be a famous humanitarian he wrote. What he said was very simple, very simple. I'll conclude with the poem. He said, feel my children, feel for the poor, feel for the downtrodden, feel for the underprivileged. How? Till your heart stops and blood reels. He says, till your heart stops, blood reels, you should feel for them, till you go mad. Till we go mad, we should feel for them, think for them. We should try to empower, educate, and enlighten and apply this principle. So artificial intelligence should be used as a biggest tool wherever there is a problem, where there is a threat in terms of data security threat, in terms of invasion of privacy, because a lot of privacy data is being taken away and disabled people are not protected. They are not having the enough protection by way of this adversarial system. We need to find the plug hole, and while embedding this artificial intelligence at the time of, otherwise it is called as a manufacturing defect. So we should try to rectify the defect in the system. So in every adversity there is an opportunity. So despite all the challenges, artificial intelligence is really a boon. We should try to capitalize, galvanize on this technology and make the world a safe, a better planet for all the people, including persons with disabilities, should not be limited. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you.